So far we've talked about how the heart conducts electricity, how it moves through the heart. We've talked about how that shows up on your P, your QRS, and your T. And we've done some measuring with those boxes and things. And we know the normal range for PR interval and for a QRS complex. So we're moving right along. Now we're going to talk about methods for rhythm interpretation. All of this stuff is we're going to practice when we meet in person, but these are just the basic concepts you'll want to know about before we get going. So these are the steps that you're going to do when you interpret or analyze an ECG or an EKG. So the first thing we're going to want to know is the rate, which is basically kind of the heart rate, right? So we're going to look at that. Then we're going to look at how regular that rhythm appears to be. We're going to look at what the P waves look like, the PR interval length, the QRS length, and identify that rhythm strip, and then we're going to discuss what to do about it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to determine the rate. So when I give you a rhythm strip on your exam, then you will always have a 6-second rhythm strip. So on the activity that you just did, there were lots of little dashes up at the top. There were more than here. Sometimes they measure 1-second increments, sometimes they measure 3-second increments. One way or the other, I'm going to give you a 6-second strip, so I'm not going to trick you up or anything. So this is a 6-second strip. The easiest way to do this is to count the QRS complexes in the 6-second strip and multiply by 10. Okay, so what we're going to do is you will see I have these arrows up here to indicate where the QRS complexes are. So in order to get about what the patient's the patient's rate is, you're going to count those up and multiply by 10. So we have over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if we have 8 of those multiplied by 10, we'll get 80. Why do we multiply by 10? Because there would be 10 6-second increments in 1 minute. Okay, so that would give us our amount per minute. The other super easy way, by the way, when you're in the ICU or PCU, is to look up on the screen and it'll tell you the rate. Okay, so you just use that. But on your exam or something, you would need to be able to count it. And this will help determine if the patient is bradycardic, if they have a normal rate, or if they are tachycardic. So that's helpful for that piece of information. So the first is the rate. Then we're going to determine if it's regular, meaning do those QRS complexes look the same distance across the strip? Do the P's look the same distance across the strip? Okay, now your eye can trick you. So you're going to always use your calipers to do this in order to make sure that you have got it correct. So you're going to pull out those calipers again. What you're going to do is you're going to take those little calipers and you're going to hold them like, I'm just going like this. So you're going to march them along. Maybe then you go from this direction. March them along. Okay, and make sure that the calipers, the distance of how far you have it from the top of that tall QRS, so that you have that tall QRS, from this one to this one is this distance. Okay. Then the next one is the same distance. The next one is the same distance. Okay, so make sure you don't have to move your calipers in order to get that distance. That will help you determine the regularity of that rhythm. Okay, and then you're also going to do it for the P's. So I'm going to do it from the Q, the P to the, the R to the R and the P to the P. So you can see from here, if I were to take those calipers and hold them, I would have it just go straight along that rhythm strip. It would be right in order, exactly where I expect it to be. So this one would be regular. You have other ones that you'll learn though that are irregular, and so we'll talk about what those might be. So the first thing we've done is we determined rate, and that's just by counting those QRS complexes in a 6-second strip, multiplying by 10. Now we've determined regularity, which is going from those P to P, R to R, making sure those are regular. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to check out these P waves. So there's a few normal characteristics of P waves, and we want to see those happening. First, are the P waves there? Okay, so there are little happy hills in front of those tall QRS complexes. Are they there? How many are there? There should be one for every QRS complex. Okay, there should only be one P wave for every QRS complex. Are they upright? Are they happy hills? Or are they bad valleys? Okay, so we want to make sure that they're upright and that they're upright and they all look about the same. So that these little hills look like they all came from the same hill company and they all are looking about the same. Okay, so P waves, are they there? Are they upright? Do they all look about the same? Okay, so then we're going to look at the next thing is the PR interval. So with the PR interval, we're going to go from the beginning of that P wave to the beginning of that QRS. Okay, and we want it to be in this normal range of 0.12 to 0.20 seconds. So if I were to look here, if you look at my cursor, going from right here, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. Okay, so if I look over here, I can tell you on the solid line right here starts at 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is 0.16 seconds. So I multiplied 4 times 0.04, which is the itsy bitsy boxes, I got 0.16. So you want to make sure it's within that normal range, and then it's the same across the strip, that distance is the same. Okay, so that is a normal PR interval here in this section. Like I mentioned before, you can also have your calipers and you kind of hold it on that section and then you pull it up kind of and measure it to another box. On that video had that. Okay, QRS duration. So I made this really blown up, so it's very difficult to see. But you can see that this one is basically 1, maybe 1.5 boxes. Okay, and the normal is 0.04 to 0.10. So we're at about 0.06 seconds here. Let me see if it's better on this image. Yeah, so it's basically 1.5 or 2 boxes. So we're right within normal range for that QRS duration. I will not on your exam say, what is the PR interval of this EKG, or what is the QRS duration of this EKG? But I will expect you to know that in order to do an appropriate interpretation of that EKG. Okay, and the next thing is you're going to interpret the rhythm. So you're going to say what that rhythm is. Okay, what is the interpretation of that rhythm? So then you have to learn all these characteristics of these rhythms. So what we'll do is we'll first start with some normal rhythms, and then we'll go into some abnormal rhythms from there. So that will be our next video.